This young man has two assets that he is trading with the government right now. One is cooperation, which amounts to the return of money. We know there's $300 or $400 million at least that's still missing. And the second is cooperation in terms of who else was involved in these crimes. And the government's got to be interested, Neil, in this one. I mean, look, they've added a charge regarding these political donations. As a prosecutor, I'd want the money. Where's the money, Sam? And who else was involved in these crimes, including the big-time politicos?
Disgraced FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried faces a litany of charges tied to the collapse of his cryptocurrency exchange. But along with being an outsized figure in crypto, Bankman-Fried, nicknamed SBF, is also one of the largest political donors in American politics and has been accused of violating campaign finance laws as part of a scheme to illegally funnel millions of dollars to candidates and political action groups ahead of the 2022 midterm elections. The indictment claims that Bankman-Fried falsely reported political contributions that were being sourced from Alameda Research, an investment firm that he controlled, using customer money. Federal prosecutors said he also made corporate contributions to candidates and political action committees in New York that were reported in the name of another person. Former U.S. Attorney Guy Lewis points out that SBF would have to cooperate with the government to give a list of people who were involved in the said fraud and the big-time politicians to whom the money was wired to. This has raised concerns as to whether or not Shark Tank celebrity Kevin O'Leary will be implicated, as fingers have been pointed recently towards his involvement in the massive fraud. Bankman-Fried contributed more than $70 million to election campaigns in less than 18 months, placing him among the nation's top political donors. He gave at least $40 million to politicians and political action committees ahead of the 2022 midterm elections, mostly to Democrats and liberal-leaning groups, making him the second overall top donor to Democrats, only behind George Soros, according to the Center for Responsive Politics. In addition, he contributed the individual maximum of $5,800 to more than a dozen members of Congress, including Senators Debbie Stabenow, a Michigan Democrat, and Senator John Boozman, an Arkansas Republican, who lead the Senate Agriculture Committee, which has a role in regulating cryptocurrency. Stabenow and Boozman introduced a bill together this year that was intended to give FTX a path toward regulatory compliance in the U.S. Other lawmakers that received maximum donations from Bankman-Fried include Democratic Senators Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, and Cory Booker of New Jersey, and Republican Senators Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine. However, the indictment does not list which of Bankman-Fried's donations were allegedly made illegally. It also does not list the names of additional co-conspirators who may have been used to funnel the money. We will now get back into the video and listen to what Guy Lewis has to say about SBF arrest, extradition, and what awaits SBF. As you listen, ensure to like the video, subscribe, and drop your comments below.
To Guy Lewis, former U.S. Attorney. Guy, so many dumb questions I have to ask you, so little time. First off, I assume his passport, that is Bankman-Fried's passport, has been taken away, so he isn't a flight risk. There are always ways around that, but what can you tell me?
That's right, Neil. Before he would even begin to have discussions with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, and others, they would require him to turn in his passport, any travel documents. They would go through a financial background and history. So there's a lot of questions to be answered. And frankly, despite the speculation, I'm still betting that he gets detained pending trial as a risk of flight.
What about the bail, if there even were that opportunity? What are we talking about?
So the court is going to require, which the court will have to approve, no matter whether the government and the defense lawyers agree or not. The court's going to have to look at it and approve. But you can bet that if there is an agreement, and that's a big is, it's going to be millions of dollars, families putting up properties, waiving extradition from any third-party country, maybe an ankle monitor, maybe even hired professional security where they report routinely to the authorities on his whereabouts. Very, very strict reporting requirements.
Would that extend, Guy, to his parents and his girlfriend, who have also been questioned, we're told?
Short answer, Neil, is yes. But again, they're going to be there, they being the federal authorities, are going to be very skeptical. Look, we know the parents are going to promise that he's going to appear in court. We know that the girlfriend's going to promise. But look, in reality, Neil, this young man has two assets that he is trading with the government right now. One is cooperation, which amounts to the return of money. We know there's $300 or $400 million at least that's still missing. And the second is cooperation in terms of who else was involved in these crimes. And the government's got to be interested, Neil, in this one. I mean, look, they've added a charge regarding these political donations. As a prosecutor, I'd want the money. Where's the money, Sam? And who else was involved in these crimes, including the big-time politicos?
Do you think whatever happened, when all is said and done, Guy, Bankman-Fried is going to be spending the rest of his life behind bars?
I got to tell you, Neil, that's what he's facing right now. And the way the guidelines are, the federal guidelines as a part to, for example, the previous story on the lady arrested 17 times and obviously, going to get out. The guidelines here are going to be a mandatory life. And mandatory life means, hey, you die in jail and they carry you out in a box. It's very, very tough. And that's all driven by the amount of the loss, which in this case really could be $1 billion or more. It's going to make the Bernie Madoff case look like a small fish.
Wow, amazing. Guy, so are you. Guy Lewis, the former U.S. attorney, following those developments.
The federal government is alleging serious violations of campaign finance law, which could bring substantial jail sentences of their own. First, they're claiming that Bankman-Fried has violated the straw donor ban, making donations in the names of other persons. The documents also allege that because Bankman-Fried was using FTX funds to make personal donations, he also violated the ban on corporate contributions. Campaign finance law prohibits campaigns from taking money directly from corporations. The first part is bad news for Bankman-Fried. Violations of the straw donor law, which is one of the most serious campaign finance violations, are what landed notorious fraudsters Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman, as well as an arch-right commentator and conspiracy theorist Dinesh D'Souza, in the clink. The second part is bad news for Democrats. Bankman-Fried is being charged with stealing customer funds from FTX and using that boosted corporate money to donate to politicians of his choice. And while the multi-million-dollar contributions via his super PAC, Protect Our Future, grabbed most of the headlines during election season with their eye-popping quantities, Bankman-Fried's personal giving also looks to be in the crosshairs of the federal government's case. As former U.S. Attorney Guy Lewis pointed out in the video, SBF will likely be facing life imprisonment, and it is very unlikely he would go down alone without mentioning his accomplices, which puts so many of them in a bind. According to Guy, the government is very interested in the identity of these individuals who took part in the fraud and would pursue the acquisition of their names. We would like to know your thoughts on this latest development. Do you think Kevin O'Leary would be implicated as well? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Also, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.